Hey everyone, Mike Katz here with the Trader Takeaway for 7 Points Capital. Today on Tuesday, lots of action today. Lots of action, lots of stocks moving. Let's get right to it. One of the first ones we were in today, and we were in early, was this DFFN, Diffusion Pharmaceuticals. This symbol, when I look at this chart, there's one thing that jumps out at me right away, and it's the fact that this stock cannot hold gains. Every time the stock has run up in the past on the daily, we can see that it always gives back gains. Goes up here to $7, closes at 4 and change. Same thing here, same thing here. On this day, it actually did close up and then gaps down the next day. Sells off, up and down, up and down, up and down. The stock has a history of being a runner, but at the same time, it has a history of not holding its gains. So this morning when we came in, we saw the stock gapping up somewhere in the 270, 280 area. They had some news where the FDA was giving them some guidance on phase 3 drug. Didn't matter, right? Didn't matter because we know that this stock likely will not hold the gains. So we were in this thing early, and when you kind of have that type of bias in the stock, I think it's okay to get started earlier rather than later. And we were shorting this thing out of the gate. I was personally in this, and I was shorting this versus $3 to start. And then when I saw that it was quickly going down and selling off right away, over here I got heavier, and the stop ended up being in above 260. So this was a nice one where it was just all a matter of joining the weakness and keep on selling. Every pop we got, we sold. Then it went sideways. I remember here specifically at, let's see here, at 220, ARCA on the offer was showing 100 shares. Selling a whole lot was reserved and was just constantly selling. Once he lifted, the stock did get a pop. At that point, I was already trimmed some here a little bit. Didn't get really a chance to add into the pop, but did add it back into the weakness. And then it dropped again. And then what I saw here was that seller that was there on the offer at 220 had stepped down. It was now selling 215s. And then 220s held, couldn't get back above 220. We can see that all the sideways volume in this chart shows us there's a lot of volume. Everybody was, not everybody, but lots of volume going off on the buy side, but they just wouldn't let it go up. And then basically when it couldn't go up anymore, the fast money will puke it out and we'll get that move to the downside. We'll want to get out of this. So got a nice washout, traded out of most of it here, and then basically traded out of the rest down here, and I think that was it. I didn't really get back involved. We had one spot here where I kind of loaded the boat here at 210, and I thought that from this point on, we had a descending triangle making lower highs. Here I got pretty heavy, but when it just didn't crack right away, I did kind of scale out of some, got smaller, and then whenever it did get back to the lows here, to that 205 level, went sideways, gave another opportunity to size in, and that one did work, and it was actually a nice trade. So DFFN was a good one. One thing to take away from this trade is know the stock, know its history, know how it behaves, and this is an example of a stock that rarely holds its gains, always gives it back, and retail is going to be there holding the bag, long stock that they think is going higher. So that was one. TRXC, unbelievable volume, over 100 million shares, 130 million shares traded today, about twice what it did yesterday. Has a float of 70 million, I think, if I'm not mistaken. No, 120 million. So within 2 days, we turned over the float twice. Just lots of action. Volume is through the roof. And this one was the one that had the approval with their robotics product to be used during surgeries. yesterday. I remember trying this one on the short side. Personally, I don't think we went over this trade in yesterday's recap, but it was a loss where I tried a short, got stopped out here on this move up, got back in, made some money, and then it just grinded back all day, and I ended up taking a loss, thinking I was going to roll over every time. But keeping yesterday's information in mind, knowing that the shorts weren't happy, the stock was squeezing, lots of volume, and in this market, it's very easy for these sticks to double and triple and have some crazy moves. So coming into today, I was thinking, let it go up if it wants to go up. I personally didn't participate on the long side. I just couldn't bring myself to it. But what I did end up doing is when it did get parabolic, 480 area, started sizing in, started with a feeler, and it came to 5, got rejected by 5, and I personally was going to say, all right, if it gets above 5 and stays above 520, was the number I had in mind. That's where I was going to take the short off. But it came down. Let's zoom in a little bit. It came down pretty nicely, got rejected by 5. I saw lots of large offers being taken out at 499, and it looked like it was going to rip through 5, but they just ended up reversing. And when it came down here, I believe I covered a little bit here just to have some ammo in case it did get back up above. And I was thinking that, hey, this could potentially have a massive move to the upside that would fail at $5, and that would really trap a lot of longs and squeeze out a lot of the shorts. But it didn't really do that either, so it just ended up drifting lower and grinding lower the rest of the day. So I ended up taking a little bit off here, some more off here, some more off below VWAP, and then kept it, and then the rest, when it reclaimed VWAP, I ended up scaling out in this area. So decent trade, lots of volume. I think I ended up making almost 2 R's in this trade. Could have potentially turned out to be a much better one, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow. It's hard to say. I don't know if the move is over and now this thing can resume it moved to the downside, or if there's another squeeze in the cards for the shorts. It's hard to say. We did go out sideways. I think that if there was going to be another squeeze, maybe we would have had another push into the close like we did yesterday and squeeze the shorts. It couldn't really do that, so I'll be watching this one for tomorrow, knowing that we have certain levels in mind. We have 385 and $5 to keep an eye on and see how it behaves. But definitely lots of action here. A lot of the guys in the office did really well, and the volume was just unbelievable. You could have traded heavy and had some serious size and not have to worry about liquidity. We'll see how it is tomorrow. I think there should be some more action in there. And one stock that we mentioned yesterday, I wasn't too active in yesterday, just mostly in swing, was this ANAB. We went over this symbol where it kept on going sideways. $70 was a level with lots of volume. It kept on getting rejected above 70, and then yesterday dipped below 70, came back, got rejected by $70, and that was a nice setup. Still in this one, multiple R's in the money right now. Trimmed, I believe 20% right here at 68.50. Haven't really had any reason to take off anymore. So we'll see tomorrow if we get a little bit of a drop. On a quick drop tomorrow morning, take some off, and then maybe anticipate some sort of retracement back up to see how it behaves versus that 70 level again. So this one has been a good one. Not a lot of volume, but moving nicely and gave a pretty nice setup. So one to keep an eye on. And again, biotech's in play. Low floats are moving. Hopefully the action continues. If you look at the SPYs, I would say that the volume is not amazing, still lower. Market's still kind of drifting higher. No real power either way. And then, just keep on squeezing and proving everybody wrong. So we'll just wait to see if there's any action to have in the SPYs. Maybe it'll be earnings, maybe it'll be some macro event, maybe it'll be a massive squeeze to the upside. No way to really know. All we know is that the market as a whole, the SPYs, not a lot going on, but individual names, wow, lots of action, low floaters, lots of action, and also individual stocks that had earnings. Oh, another example of a good trade we had was JP Morgan. I remember we were looking at this one, and let's get rid of these trend lines here. And this one was a nice setup. Let's zoom in. Clean moves, morning, comes down, bounces, and starts to wedge and make a higher high, higher low that is, and then lower highs. And then one thing that caught my attention was every time the stock would reverse, it would do it pretty quickly and it would have a sharp move. So when we came down 97.50, reversal was quick and sharp, a V bottom, and came back up. And then when he did reverse, again, quick reversal to the downside, V top, V bottom, quick reversal down. But then here, towards the bottom of this wedge, instead of having another V bottom and getting back up, instead, all it could do is just go sideways and start to consolidate at the bottom of the range of this move to the downside. So that kind of got our attention. And I remember thinking right here, all right, hey, if I get a nice entry, a little bit of a pop, I'll get involved on the short side versus 98. That was going to be my stop initially. And then I looked away. I didn't have any orders out. I looked back here and I tried to get some stock, and then I got like 200 shares filled, tiny little position, and then it just ended up going lower. So I think I closed it out here, and one of the other guys sitting with me, Chris, said, hey, if we get another bounce, let's zoom out, if we get another bounce here and potentially stalls out versus 85, that could be a good setup versus VWAP and this level. And I took it off my screen. I probably trading 8-10 positions at once, and I forgot about this one, but Chris was on point. He said, hey Mike, check this out, check out JP Morgan, we got the bounce we were looking for, what do you think here? Well, I said, okay, let's see. This is where we were, and I remember right here at 70, it was 70 bid, and I said, yeah Chris, that looks great, good risk reward, got the bounce we were looking for into resistance, into this area where there was a lot of selling, and maybe it makes a lower high. Let's go. Versus 85, I'm willing to take a shot. And I remember getting in 69 versus 85, and then the stock just took a nice dip. I had some orders out, and I covered, I remember I covered 46s, 43s, 38s. I had some orders out on NASDAQ. And I ended up trimming down to about a half. And it pulled back, sized back in here. And it didn't really want to turn back down. So I ended up giving back some off the max. But eventually it just went sideways. And worked out my way out of position. All done with that one. But Chris was definitely on top of this position. Great call here saying, hey Mike, it's come back, and what do you think here? It was a good risk reward, and at the same time what we cared for was that Goldman Sachs was, who had earnings today, was making lows, constantly sitting down here. Let's see exactly what time that was. JP Morgan, we were in this right here. And that was at 1:30ish. Goldman Sachs at 1:30 was sitting down here at lows, acting weak. Every bounce was weak, and then just kept on making lower low, lower high, and that gave us the confidence to say, okay, the sector is likely weak, and let's get a push to the downside. So JP Morgan was a very nice trade, and that's what you need. You need, I think, to be associated with people around you that are gonna remind you of a trade. They're gonna give you an idea and help each other out, and that's the benefit of trading on the desk. So thank you for watching our trader takeaways, and 7 Points Capital appreciates the feedback that you guys are sending on Twitter, whether it's in, individual messages, direct messages, or the comments and the likes on YouTube. Keep them coming. And towards the end of this week, we're going to have some of our other traders come into rotation and give you their trade ideas, their takeaways, and I think it'll be fun. So thanks for watching, guys.